Welcome back to another episode of the coaching series. Yes, my microphone is different this time because I'm on my friend's setup. I'm currently not in my country, which is also the main reason why this video was a bit delayed, and the future videos will also be recorded on this setup, so keep that in mind. Anyways, in this video, you will see what happens when you learn advanced mechanics before you learn the basics. I will also drop a random word throughout the video, and I will give shoutouts to a couple of random comments using that word. Also, 91% of you guys are not subscribed. I'm trying to reach 20k subs by the end of the month, and only you guys can make it possible. Make sure to also like the video to boost it to more people, and without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. Sando starts the first round with sniper, energy pistols, fists, and jump pad. This is the first time we see this specific loadout in the coaching series, so I'm really wondering how that's going to go. Okay, so I will pause here instantly. Some of you might not know how to do this jump pad boost tech with fists, so I will quickly walk you through it. For this specific boost, you want to place your jump pad on this window right here next to spawn. You want to walk into it and keep holding your forward key. It's not necessary to hold it, but it might be easier when learning. As soon as you're about to hit the ground or the ramp, you use your quick melee button to fist, then you double jump to boost yourself forward, which makes you slide up the ramp and creates a lot of momentum. If you have never done this, it might be pretty difficult at first, but once you get the hang of it and figure out the right timing, you will be flying around the map with ease. I do that placement all the time when going for trick shots. It boosts you a lot, which makes it far more satisfying for cool sniper shots. You can see how Sando is doing that continuously over and over again to try and land a shot, which he misses because he's losing track of the opponent. It's not easy to hit a shot while having that momentum or while losing track of your enemy, so I wouldn't recommend going for these plays if you still struggle to aim with the sniper. You can also see how Sando goes behind cover each time he misses a shot and lands down, so his opponent can't hit him while he's rotating to the jump pad. This also makes you really hard to hit because of the travel speed. What I like to do is chain both sides constantly and stay unpredictable with my movements. It does become predictable really quickly though, which you can tell by the damage his opponent managed to land here. He pre-fired Sando, managed to land a ton of shots, and still managed to avoid that sniper shot. There's not much to cover in this specific round. I have a feeling Sando wanted to make his gameplay a bit more fun and entertaining to watch, which I fully respect. The way this game ends though was really intense, but no spoilers. He goes for the same place in the second round, but this time fails the jump pad boost, which cost him a couple of hits. He then uses the jump pad to rotate and place another one. Sando kept pretty good track of his opponent there and landed such a good quickscope on him. Nice round. Playing a bit more safe at the beginning of the third round, he hears the sight on the right side and decides to take a peek through this window. The bad thing about this is that he's kind of just sitting exposed even behind that window, which gives his opponent more advantage, considering it was harder to land a headshot at that specific high ground spot. The opponent had a late reaction and got to land just a couple of hits, then all he had to do was wait for the jump pad and then pre-fire again. Sando here is missing a lot of shots and making a ton of mistakes, not just positional but decision wise as well, which cost him the entire round. As I said, it's really difficult to consistently land these shots, so going for them every round is not really ideal if you're actually trying to win the game. I would say do this whenever you're not trying to win or whenever you want to hit some sick trick shots, but knowing this gameplay was submitted for coaching means Sando wanted to win that game. So what he does in the next round is really smart. In the fourth round, he switches to AR. He was expecting the opponent on the left like in the last round, but he also ignored the audio that indicated his opponent was actually on the right side. By the time he placed the jump pad, the opponent was already in his spawn. Lucky for him, that jump pad momentum dodged a couple of bullets and made him a harder target. I also noticed the zoom effect on AR. It's pretty zoomed in, I would guess around 0.7 or 0.8, which is not really ideal for this specific map. I assume that's what he uses on sniper if he's a sniper main, so taking a couple of seconds to switch to a different zoom effect on another weapon is definitely recommended. He doesn't use his ADS at all while fighting, which is another thing I talked about in previous episodes. You really don't want to do that. As much as you think it's consistent, there's a slight bullet spread that is really noticeable at these ranges, especially when you're across the map like Sando here. Sando also uses that jump pad boost moment to reload his weapon, which is smart. You can actually reload the whole weapon before getting to the ramp and cancel it with your quick melee. I do this a ton with sniper. The opponent is constantly expecting the jump pad ramp boost, but Sando still manages to out-aim him and secure the round. That's, in my opinion, the only good thing about these plays. The only way to actually win them is by simply out-aiming your opponent or throwing him off if he can't track you properly. Other than that, it's pretty predictable and just not it. Same thing in the fifth round, though you can tell how hard it is for the enemy to track Sando well. If you notice that your opponent can't aim properly or even keep track of you, using this momentum will really throw them off. The enemy dashes on top of the wall while Sando is reloading, fully exposed, also waiting for the entire reload animation to end. If you haven't watched the latest episode, I talked about cancelling reload animations. You should definitely check that out. Weirdly enough, his opponent doesn't even bother shooting him, which was really questionable. Sando punishes that mistake by keeping on the left side and catching the enemy off guard. I'm going to pause in the middle of this fight and see if you can guess what happens next. Does Sando A. manage to punish the opponent and win the round, or does B. his opponent somehow manage to punish Sando instead? It's really debatable, and it would be logical that Sando wins the fight there, but the opponent kept constantly strafing, moving around, sliding from one wall to another, which threw Sando off. He eventually decided to turn his back on the opponent and run away while reloading. Of course, that didn't really work. If you see the enemy going on that wall, you do not want to turn your back on him or try running or reloading while he's there. Why? Well, you become pretty vulnerable and exposed, which basically gives him a free win. If you try to use the last couple of bullets to move out instead of panicking while reloading, it's more likely you'll get out of that situation alive. Sando was hugging the wall and thought he could somehow get out alive. All the opponent had to do was move a little bit to the right, which he eventually did. Sando switches to Sight and Molotov in the 6th round, which was actually a smart switch. He hasn't used Fists at all for anything other than that ramp boost, so Fists became pointless once he decided to switch to Molotov. I would recommend using Fists not only for double jumps, but also for additional movement speed and cancelling reloads. They are really effective for that. Sight is really good for arena, especially for high ground. You can constantly dash up while staying unpredictable, which isn't really the case with Fists. I feel like Sando's awareness and aim were a bit off at the beginning of this round. He did manage to catch his enemy off guard by dashing to the wall, and for some weird reason the opponent decided to run down and reload while fully exposed, which kind of reminds me of the situation where he punished Sando for the same mistake earlier. Sando lands 84 damage, moves out to reload, then dashes up to continue putting pressure because the opponent was low. He honestly lost a lot of HP there. His opponent made the same mistake by reloading while exposed, which Sando punished again by switching to his secondary and just finishing the enemy off. Interesting Molotov in the 7th round, could have been a misclick. Also, the hidden word is the fire emoji. Make sure to put the fire emoji next to your usual comment for a chance of getting a shoutout in the next video. They both dash up and land pretty much equal damage, then they go down to reload. Sando was exposed here again, we know the enemy is close and we don't really know what he is capable of doing, so going far right instead would have been a better option. The opponent uses Sight to cancel the reload animation while also landing damage with it and moving out. Really well played there, I'm not gonna lie. It's really risky, but if both of you are reloading and you get the chance to cancel the animation, land the damage and reposition at the same time, definitely go for it. All the opponent had to do after that was stay more patient and catch Sando off guard, which he eventually did. I feel like Sando went way too aggressive here. The opponent had the more positional advantage and a couple of walls to use as cover, which gave him so many options. Sando goes way more aggressive in the 8th round, landing the Molotov and 130 damage in total while the enemy was trying to run away and reload. Again, so far I feel like the opponent has a really slow sensitivity, so using that to your advantage by moving around more or getting in his face and spinning in circles is probably a more ideal situation for you. Look at how long it took this guy to turn around, and even when he did, he just went down to run and couldn't properly keep track of Sando. Sando stops chasing him and instead dashes up, and even though he could hear the opponent popping a medkit, you don't want to do that. You either punish the opponent for taking that medkit in front of you by dashing toward him, or chasing him until the end, or you just let him pop the medkit like Sando did here and risk losing the round. Why do I say risk losing the round? Well, look at this. One simple mistake made Sando go from full HP to 36. He basically took 100 damage while trying to get the enemy with energy pistols. It's a really risky play and I don't recommend this. Matchpoint and Sando is missing his dashes. He uses ADS on AR for the first time in this game, which throws him off a lot. Then he moves down to reload, the opponent pops a medkit, which means he's definitely around full HP, if not full HP. Yet Sando decides to get in his face with half his HP. It was bold and he did manage to land a couple of shots, but it was really risky to turn your back on the opponent and move out that way. He is really low, dashes up to take a duel, and loses the round. Me personally, those of you who have been watching my content for a while now, you know I promote playing low ground with cover when you're low HP or getting out-aimed in fights. It makes you so much more unpredictable. Dashing on top like this is basically like putting a giant sign above your head saying I give up. You just don't want to do that. There's a really low success rate for that play. Overall, Sando did pretty well in this match. He reminds me of the type of players who learn some good mechanics and then use them every match they play. Unfortunately, there's a lot more to this game than just doing that. He's doing jump pad boosts pretty effectively and properly keeping track of his opponent most of the time. But he's also really struggling with awareness and overall aiming. I would recommend to all of you watching to master the basics first and then move on to more advanced mechanics, because there's a lot more to, for example, fists. They're not just good for double jumps. Use ADS more in longer distance fights and make sure it's not too zoomed in or not zoomed at all. Or if you just prefer shooting without scoping, put the zoom all the way down. It will have a similar feeling, just with a different and much better outcome. Thank you guys once again for watching this video till the end. Don't go to the comments hating on Sando or his playstyle. We're all here to either help someone else or learn from someone else's mistakes, not to be toxic. Let me know what do you think about this jump pad playstyle, like and subscribe, join my Discord server in the pinned comment if you want to get a chance to end up in one of these videos, and I will see you guys in the next episode.